Am I live yet? Give me 1 second to refresh this page. Okay, I think I'm live, and I have 0 viewers, so I'm talking to myself. But I'm doing this video for people who can watch it when I'm done live streaming. So I love this YouTube channel. I like to make videos. Problem is I just don't have the time. So I figured why not try to wing it and live stream something, and hopefully you guys will get something out of it. I've decided today to take a look at Grav. It's a CMS, but it's pure file system based, so there's no database behind it. And so I'm going to check this out. I heard about it a few months ago, but I never really had a chance to look into it. So I'm here at the homepage, and it's getgrav.org. And what I'm going to do for this video, at least, is check out the learning page, and we'll see how to set this stuff up. So I'll go ahead and get started. I'm going to click here on the Learn link. And by the way, there's a few prerequisites for this video. You're going to need to have some kind of server running locally so that you can load PHP files. I'm using MAMP, and I have it open already. Of course, you'll need a text editor, and I like to use Atom, so that's what I'm going to go with. Now, this live stream is also kind of a dry run, if you will. I've been wanting to do this for a while, and you might have noticed, oh, it looks like I have a viewer. You might have noticed that I've been testing some of the streaming software that I found online, and so I'm using one right now that I think is pretty good, but to be honest, I got such a cheap MacBook Air that I don't think I have the processing power to actually stream this really good. So what I'm looking for is some feedback from people who watch it, people who are watching live, as well as the people that watch when the stream is over. Okay. So once again, I'm here at getgrav.org, and I'm on their documentation page. And what we're going to do is figure out what this is all about. So as I mentioned before, Grav is a file-based, they put web platform here, but it's a file-based CMS. So it's not like WordPress or anything else where you'll need to connect to like a MySQL database. Let's go ahead and go over this page for a few seconds. It says here there's 0 install required, and you just got to unzip the archive, and you're up and running. Let's see. Okay, so it uses Twig templating, and if you're unfamiliar with Twig, it's kind of like the Razor of PHP, or Express for the Node JavaScript stuff. Okay, Markdown for I'm assuming like blog posting. And let's see. Right now I'm up to 4 viewers. Okay, anyway, I'll move along with this. Oh, it looks like there's some kind of plugin system as well. Let's see. I'm going to click here on this arrow and go on to the next page. So I mentioned in the beginning of the video or the stream that you need a web server. I'm using MAMP. It says here that it runs on Apache, Nginx, Lightspeed, and others, even IIS. PHP 5.5.9 is required. If you're using MAMP, you can check which version of PHP you're using by going to Preferences and then clicking PHP. It appears I'm using 7.1. And here's the coolest thing about it. There's no database needed, so I really like this. I've used like front-end static website builders. In fact, EasyDevToots.com was built using one. and I can't exactly remember the name of it. Oh, are you guys having trouble hearing me? Let me see if I can. Maybe I just need to speak a little bit louder. 1 second. No, that's not going to work. I'm going to see if I can find my mic settings and turn the volume up. There we go. Hopefully that's better. I turned the mic input up, so hopefully you guys can hear me. Okay, so we've gone over the requirements, and let's see, web servers. You don't even need a web server to run it. Oh, really? Well, router.php, as long as you're running PHP 5 or higher, Mac. Okay, so this page is just going to have details about the server requirements. Installation. Let's see. There is no real installation. You have 3 options for installing Grav. First and simplest way is to simply download the zip archive. I think that's what we'll do for this video. We'll just download the zip archive and then extract it into our local host folder. I have my map set up to point to the local host. Okay, sweet. Looks like the sound is good. Thank you. And I don't know if this page has the download, so oh, here it is. We'll keep it simple. We'll just install from the zip package, and looks like we can get a Grav or a Grav plus admin, and I think I'll go for that one. Okay, so I'm gonna so I downloaded that, and I'm gonna move it over to my localhost PHP folder, and oops, sorry about that. Looks like my screen went blank. What I've done is I've downloaded the zip file and copied it over to localhost, so that when I refresh this, it should show up here, and then see what happens when we click on that. Okay, so once you've downloaded Grav and you've extracted it to your server location, and you click here, looks like you'll be taken to an admin page. It says here, the admin plugin has been installed, but no admin accounts could be found. Please create an admin account. So I guess if you chose to download Grav without the admin plugin, you'd probably be up and running already. But since we did that, we'll go ahead and go through the, I guess, this registration process. Let's see. I'm not going to put this up on a public server, so I'll keep it simple and put this email address in there. At least 8 characters, so your password needs to have at least 8 characters. I'll put admin 1 2 3 4. I'll just put the channel name here and administrator. Create user. Please match. Password must contain at least one number and one uppercase. Okay, so I'll fix that. Create user. Sure. So this is cool because we chose Grav with the admin package. We got this nice dashboard view, and we're logged in. And it looks like we can view some stats here: maintenance, probably visitor statistics, a news feed from the dev team, most likely, notifications, and updates. Let's check out the configuration. You know, these pages are not loading as fast as I would expect them to, since it's all running locally. Okay, anyway. Homepage. I bet this allows you to choose which file you want to show as your homepage. Hide home route and URLs. This will ensure the default routes for any pages under home do not reference home's regular route. Okay. There's a theming option. It looks like this one's called antimatter. Process, Markdown, or Twig. We'll just leave everything default for now. And these settings appear to match pretty standard file system based websites. You usually create your navigation from your folders, and sometimes you number them like 01, 02, and so on. I'm kind of eager to look at the code, so why don't I just open that up really quick. Yeah, I agree. The admin looks awesome. That's nice. That was a nice surprise. Let me see. Localhost, admin. Let's see if I can find the root of the site just by looking at the file system here. User, system, logs, vendor. Yeah, so your vendor is going to be all of the third-party, tools and resources they need to build the site out. Pages, not found. Router. Zoom out a bit. I wonder if this admin plugin writes to the file system. Like if I create a new page from this end, does it create a file? And it doesn't even look, oh, here we go. So at the top right of the pages section, you can click on add pages, add folder, add modular. Maybe I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, so let me go back to the documentation. I get a bit excited when I'm playing around with new stuff, and we'll go through the basic tutorial. So it says, assuming you've successfully installed Grav with the instructions listed in the previous chapter, we can continue on and play around with Grav a little to get you more comfortable. Because Grav does not require a database, it's actually pretty easy to work with. And a big data source. Future chapter, but for the time being, you need to beware. Okay, so all our user content is stored in the user, pages, and folder of your Grav install. So we switch back to Atom. We go to user and pages. and this is where all of our pages are going to be. As you can see now, we only have one. Let's just look at the home page. Default.markdown. I'm using Atom, and I have the Markdown package installed. You might want to install that so that you can get some of this syntax highlighting. Also, if you're unfamiliar with Markdown, let's see if we can find their website, and I'll share it with you really quick. Okay, so this is going to be the page where you can view all the Markdown documentation. All right. So it says here, currently there is only one folder in the Pages folder, and we've looked at that. And you can see the structure of our file system is 01.home and then default.markdown. So portion of the folder is optional, but provides a couple of things that can be handy. First, lets you expressly define the order of your pages. So as I mentioned earlier, I've seen this before. If you were to put a new folder here and call it 02. About, this would most likely become the about page. Let's see, the other thing is that the numeric portion of the folder name does inform Grav this page should be visible in the menu. All right. So let's see here, home page configuration. Yeah, so because we installed the admin plugin, we don't have to mess around with this file. But if we didn't, we could go to system.yaml, user config, and here's where we'd be able to define what the home page is. So if we created an about page and we wanted that to be the home page, I'm sure we could just do that. But again, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, so let's go back to the documentation and check this out. So it says here, pages in Grav are composed in Markdown syntax, and you can view the documentation here, daringfireball.net projects Markdown syntax. And it says here, where was I? Text symbols to indicate key HTML tags, very easy to write, having complexities of HTML. So it says here, open the home page in your text editor, and the file that controls the home page is located in this folder, which we found. And it says here, when you edit the page, the content will look like this. So it says, let us break this down a little so you can see how easy it is to write in Markdown. The stuff between dash 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 indicators are the page headers, and these are written in a very simple format called YAML. YAML Frontmatter. So what they're talking about here is all of the code that's between these three dashes here is what is known as YAML Frontmatter. So you can think of these as sort of like the configuration for the Markdown file. So this block sets the HTML title tag, which is the text you see here, like at the top of your browser tab. And, oh yeah, that's exactly what it says here. It looks like you can access this from your themes via the page.title attribute. That's what I'm curious about seeing too, is how do you theme this type of website? Let's see, you can also access this from your themes via page title. Another example is menu something that lets you override the text Use to display the name of the page in the menu. So if we wanted to, I don't know, change this to home page, our nav menu would read this menu setting and set the home page nav link to home page. So to move along, I don't think I'm going to go through the entire Markdown stuff. Let's get down here to adding a new page. It says creating a new page is simple in Grav. Just follow these simple steps. Go to your Pages folder, user Pages, and create a new folder. In this example, we would use explicit default ordering and call the folder 02.mypage. Okay, so let's stick with the tutorial here, and I'm going to rename this from about to, I believe it was my page. And I'm going to copy this code. If you're following along with the documentation, you'll see there's these little icons at the top right of each code block, and if you click that, it'll copy it to your clipboard. We'll need to create a file under this folder, and it's called default.md for Markdown. And then since we copied everything to the clipboard, we should be able to paste it here and save our file. Save this file in the page folder as default. This will tell Grav to render the pages in the default template, and that's it. Reload your browser to see your new page in the menu. Let's see if I can get to the front end. Just paste this part here. This is called Grav Admin because I downloaded the package that includes admin, and that was the name of the folder when it was extracted. So if you named yours something else like test site or Grav test, that's probably what you would type out. Where we are so far in the documentation is that we just created a new page, and you can see here that when we did that, it added this link. Let's create a third one and create a new folder under pages, 03.about, and then we need a new file, default.md, and I'm just going to copy everything from here and paste it here. I'm going to put about us, and then I think it was menu, right? I'll just put about like that. And how about my about page? Never mind. I'll just do about us. Save that. And let's refresh. And it looks like our third page is here. And we click on that, we go to it. Oh, look, even the URLs, they have the I was going to call it permalinks like WordPress. They have the URL structure set up already, so we're not looking at something like about.php. And once again, I added this menu setting here to change the link. If I wanted to just put anything, just put my channel name, and I come and refresh it, it would change the link here at the top. So that's what that does. Pretty cool. Let's move along with the documentation. We got the page created. Shows up menu. Okay, so it looks like they go over what I just did. See, I keep getting ahead of myself. All right. Congratulations, you have now successfully created a new page in Grav. There's much more you can do. And let's go to configuration. So it says here all the configuration is written in YAML. You need the YAML file extension. System configuration. So it says here you should never change this file, and it's going to be at this path, system config system.yaml config. So this file here, never change it unless you know what you're doing, I guess, but they don't want you to. And apparently this is where you can set up your URLs, time zone, custom base URL. Let's see. The home section is where you set the default path for the site's homepage. You can also choose to hide the home route in URLs. Default path for home, i.e. home. I'm curious how you would do a subpage. I wonder if it's just a subfolder. Oh, I got lost. Where am I? Config. Like maybe just a subfolder of this one. But again, I might be getting ahead of myself, so I'm not going to focus too much on the configuration. Let's just leave everything default, because I'm more interested right now in just the theming and changing the overall look and feel of our front end. So moving along, the next section is going to be about folder structure, and it says, of course, there's no database. The top level of your Grav install, the folder should look like this. It does. Got all of our assets. You know what, I need to get some water really quick, so give me a few seconds. Okay, we're back. So we're taking a look at the file structure, and I mentioned a minute ago, I was curious about how the subpages might work, and hopefully in this section we'll get that sorted out. It says here the assets folder is usually flushed of all data. Bin folder contains CLI app that can be used to perform some handy tasks from the command line. Maybe we'll get into that later. It's a caching system, built-in, powerful, easy to use image manipulation library. Easily resize an image on the fly for your content or even from a plugin. Logs, system, vendor, user. It says here the user folder is the most important folder for the majority of Grav users, so that's what we'll focus on. There's the themes folder. And we'll get into that later. Maybe not today, but eventually. User accounts, user config, data, pages. This is the heart of Grav. The pages folder is where you create and edit your content. We will go into much more depth in the next section. User plugin. A plugin can extend the fast core of Grav with particular features you may need for your website. Plugins can be downloaded from GitGround. Let's take a quick look at the plugins just to see what's offered out there on the market. So we know we have the admin panel, and that looks really nice. So there's a backup manager, OAuth add-on, Unite Gallery, Entry 5 framework, admin styles. Facebook. Facebook is a plugin that embeds Facebook page content, albums, or events into your Grav website. That reminds me of something I've been working on for work lately, which is Facebook instant articles. And be curious to see how we would set something like that up in Grav. So it's got me thinking about that. Twig feeds. Parse RSS and Atom feeds with Twig. So again, I just mentioned the Facebook instant articles, and I believe they require you to have an RSS feed. So maybe if we wanted to use that, we'd have to install a plugin like this. Social meta tags, Go Squared Analytics. So it looks like we got a ton of plugins. I'm not going to go through this entire list, but there are a lot here, which tells me that maybe the Grav community is getting pretty big. Let's move on to the next section. And it looks like this is going to be resources for getting help. The forum, Twitter, blog issues. There's a Slack channel. And let's go to the next section. Content. So I think what I'll do for today and for this video is go over this second chapter and maybe up to, well, we'll see how long it takes. But I think I'll stop before I get to themes, because that can probably take a few hours to learn itself. So moving along. In Grav speak, pages are the fundamental building blocks of your site. They are how you write content and provide navigation in the Grav system. Grav natively supports 3 types of pages that allow you to create a rich selection of web content. Those types are standard, listing, and modular. So it looks like we have a standard page, 2-column here, listing, which is probably a listing of other pages, like a blog feed or an archive feed. And then something else called modular, which I'm assuming is how you can include different portions of your website onto other pages. So standard page is pretty much the home page and the about page that we've created so far. A standard page is single page, such as blog post or contact form error page. Common type of page you'll create. A listing page is an extension of a standard page. This is a standard page that has a reference to a collection of pages. So that's pretty obvious. And it looks like here, oh look, the simplest approach to setting this up is to create child pages below the listing page. A good example of this would be a blog listing page, where you would have a page that displays a summary list of blog posts that exist as child pages. There's also some configuration settings to control the order, as well as limit on the number of items and whether or not pagination should be enabled. A sample blog skeleton using a listing page can be found in the Grav downloads. A Grav skeleton is an all-in-one package that containing the core Grav system plus sample pages, plugins, and configuration. These packages are a great way to get started with Grav. So here's the blog. OER content space. Oh, look at that. The 2015 theme from WordPress. That's pretty cool. Resume site, shop site. Oh, we've got e-commerce going. I'm pretty sure there's a Stripe plugin, maybe even a PayPal plugin. Okay, that's pretty cool. The third type of page is modular page. It says here, a modular page is a special type of listing page because it actually builds a single page from its child pages. This allows for the ability to build very complex one-page layouts from smaller modular content pages. So this would be useful for like a single page application, or maybe a landing page for an email or something. All content pages are located in the user pages folder. Each page should be placed in its own folder. Grav understands that any integer value followed by a period will be solely for the purpose of ordering and is removed internally in the system. For example, if you have a folder named 1.home, Grav will treat this folder as home. In this image here, it looks like the home page is an example of the modular page type. This subfolder is called header, features, and body. So I'm assuming that if this really is a modular page type, you can create your header section in this folder with all of its Markdown or Twig files, and the features and body, and so on. And this looks like the blog feed. Your site must have an entry point so that it knows where to go when you point your browser to the root of your site. For example, if you were to enter alias home, oh look, looks like I was right. So the modular folders, I didn't point this out, but they're named with the underscore and then folder name. And it says here, this is a special folder type that is intended to be used only with modular content. These are not routable. That means you can't type into your URL on the home page and put like underscore header. That's not going to work. You'd get a 404. So that's what this means here on the documentation page. When they say things like not routable and not visible in the navigation. Let's see, the textual name of each folder defaults to the slug that the system uses as part of the URL. For example, if you have a folder such as a user pages blog, the slug for this page will be default to blog, right? Ordering. When dealing with collections, there are several options available to control how folders are ordered. The most important option is set in the content order by of the page configuration settings. And it looks like we've got several options. We're only going to be concerned with the default for now, but the default is the numbering. You can specifically define a manual order by providing a list of options to content that ordered as custom. So this is interesting. It says here you can name your file whatever you like, document.markdown, which would cause Grav to look for a template file in the theme that matches, such as document template. So let's take a look at our theme. And we're in antimatter, and we've got templates, and we've got default. So our theme is written in Twig, and it looks like our page content is written in Markdown. That's pretty cool. This section that I just read off Let's take a look at what that means. So under each of our pages, we have a default.md file, and what our theme does is it matches this file to a template down here, and it looks like default.html.twig. I'm gonna go ahead and install the let's see, is it preferences? Let's install a Twig syntax highlighter. No, anything? Here we go. PHP Twig support for Atom. Great. While that's installing, let's see. So it says you can name the file whatever you like, document.md. This behavior can be overridden in the page by setting the template parameter in the headers. Template custom. Yeah, let's create a custom template. Okay, so we have our Twig syntax highlighter installed now, so it looks a little bit better. And in the templates folder, I can't help but do my own thing. I know I'm supposed to be following the guide, but it's kind of boring. Let's create a file custom.html.twig, and we'll copy the default code and paste it in here. And you can see the first line, it says, close that one, close this out too. So extends partials base. Like I mentioned in the very beginning, Twig is kind of like Razor. If you're familiar with ASP.NET, MVC type stuff, or if you used Express.js for node templating, you can use, in all of those and Twig as well, you can use partials to build out your pages. And all of this looks very familiar if you've worked with those before. If not, don't worry. It's not too complex. You can think of it as simply includes for all of your code. So here in the partials folder, you can see there's a base, which is probably the head and the body and so on, you see. And so the base of your partial is going to contain everything that is pretty much global to each page on your website. So of course you need your head on all your pages, and your link to all your style sheets, and your main site structure. And our custom.html, what we'll do is, let's see, page.content, which probably reads all of this here. Why don't we just add a section here, and I'll just type out custom section, and then over on our page, my page, template custom. I'll save that. And it looks like that custom section I created for my custom template is now showing up here. So that's how the templating works, I guess. Again, I know I kind of skipped away from the documentation, so let's get back to that. Summary size and separator. Lets you define a default size and character of the summary that can be used via page.summary. So I guess this is kind of like the excerpt. If you're familiar with WordPress, there's an excerpt function that allows you to take just a small block of it, of your post. And let's see here. In this example, it's probably what this is. Let's see, finding other pages. Grav has a useful feature that allows you to find another page and perform actions on that page. This can be accomplished with the find method. In the next section, we'll continue. Yeah, so the page.find method, I guess, is probably used on your blog page types, so that you can loop through all the sub items and list all of the blog postings. You know, I think at this point we've covered a lot, and there's plenty of stuff to do at this point, but I don't want to get too far into the guide, because I think I should check out more Twig documentation as well as Markdown. So I'm going to end the video for now, and until the next video, what I'll do is I'll be reviewing Twig documentation as well as Markdown, so that when we get more into theming and building pages, we won't be guessing on what we're doing. I'm like I said, I'm a little more familiar with Razor, but Twig is pretty much the same thing. But I want to make sure I got it down before we move any further. So if you've been watching so far, I appreciate it. And if you're watching after the live stream, I'd appreciate any kind of feedback you can give for the